U.S. is carrying out massive strikes against the Islamic State in Syria. This is in retaliation for their attack on the Iowa National Guardsman last week. This BBC article says CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, not to be confused with Bradley Cooper from The Hangover and the guy that voiced Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. But so Admiral Brad Cooper says the U.S. will continue to relentlessly pursue terrorists who seek to harm Americans and our partners across the region. I mean, why are we even in the region? You know, this is all part of Operation Inherent Resolve. We've been involved in Syria going back to the Obama administration, you know, back when we were supporting the quote-unquote moderate rebels that turned out to be ISIS, and just more intervention in the Middle East like we always do. But so the article goes on, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the operation is not the beginning of a war. It is a declaration of vengeance. You hear that? Real tough guy, Pete Hegseth. It's a declaration of vengeance. If you target Americans anywhere in the world, and not to mention if they target them while we're occupying their country, but if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. You hear that tough talk from Pete Hegseth? Gosh, you know, I can already hear all the Fox News watchers at home saying, like, that's how you do it. You got to be tough on those terrorists. They just love that stuff. So Hegseth goes on, today we hunted and killed our enemies, lots of them, and we will continue, the U.S. Defense Secretary added. You know, and it's just so unnecessary. You know, here are these two National Guardsmen, Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar. Sorry if I messed up his name. You know, I mean, thank these gentlemen for their service, but unfortunately, you know, why did these young men die? You know, these guys are part of the National Guard. You know, the National Guard shouldn't even be deployed. You know, that's why we have things like the Defend the Guard Act that we're trying to get passed to prevent the National Guard from being deployed abroad without a declaration of war. You know, our Congress hasn't done a declaration of war since World War II. And they say, oh, yeah, we're there to fight ISIS and everything else, and we're just there to protect the region. But I got a clip from Donald Trump's first term when he left the troops in Syria. We're not in Syria really for anything else other than this.
And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil. The only troops I have are taking the oil. They're protecting the oil. I took over.
We're taking the oil. We're not taking the oil.
Well, maybe we will. Maybe we won't.
They're protecting the facility.
I don't know. Maybe we should take it. But we have the oil. Right now, the United States has the oil. So they say he left troops in Syria. No, I got rid of all of them other than we're protecting the oil. We have the oil.
So that was Donald Trump laying it out for you in Syria for the oil, just like all of our other foreign interventions and everything else we do. It's never in the name of defending the Constitution or really anything about American security. It's typically about resources. We just seized another oil tanker from Venezuela. You know, and then here's Donald Trump with the president of Syria, who is the former head of ISIS in Syria. But this was the Marine Corps birthday this year. Donald Trump's just sitting there smiling, cheesing it up with this guy. He goes by Ahmed al-Sharaa now, but this is what he was a year ago. You know, Mohammed al-Jalani, that's him. That's this same dude. This guy with President Trump there, who's now the president of Syria, was the head of ISIS in Syria. Directly from al-Qaeda, Mohammed al-Jalani. That's who he was. You know, so I'm hopefully we can have a pretty easy time taking on ISIS in Syria, considering their president used to run the show. I mean, this guy was like the head chopper. Like, this dude was a real deal super radical Islamist terrorist. But he's cool now because now he's, you know, he got a haircut, put on a suit, and he's a total ally of the United States. So we're gonna be in the country. We helped depose Bashar al-Assad, and we put this guy into power. And also, we're not the only ones that are occupying Syria. Israel's occupation of southern Syria persists nearly a year on. This article goes on, and it was either right before or immediately after the al-Assad regime collapsed in Syria that Israel expanded and went into Syria and started occupying them. And there's been reports of forced displacement and destruction in Syria in the southwest region, just close to Israel's border. And Israel's been trying to expand their borders for a while. If I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say this is all part of the greater Israel project to expand Israel's borders to those outlined within the Bible. But that's ridiculous. Even though you've had people like Pete Hegseth, the videos of him advocating, and I did a video on Pete Hegseth when he first took over as Secretary of Defense, talking about how he bases a lot of his foreign policy decisions from the Bible. It's just crazy. And so we're still in Syria. They're still using the young men and women of this country as cannon fodder. They don't really care. And that's what's frustrating. These two young men gave their lives, probably good guys. They might have I'm sure they got parents, but they might have wives, children, whatever. And now these families are destroyed forever because we're occupying foreign nations for the resources, for the interest of other people, not even for the interest of the United States. And that's why we got to call this out and not support all this foreign intervention, and especially the potential wars that we're trying to get ramped up with Venezuela and everywhere else. So if you like this video, thank you for watching, and please like, subscribe, and comment. Have a good day.